Hey there, Mary Sheila here, and I am going to make a twist on traditional poke, and I'm going to make it instead of with fish, but with tomatoes, because it just so happens to be a bumper crop year for me with these gorgeous heirloom tomatoes, and they're so delicious. And I had something like this actually at a retreat that I was at, that I was teaching at Lotus Feed, and it was so delicious, so I'm just playing with what I remember and making my own creation. So thank you, Anja and Janae, for the inspiration. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my tomatoes and I'm gonna just chop them up at first. And I like using like a little serrated knife here. I just wanna preface this that, not everybody can tolerate the nightshade. So I'm sorry if that's you. I do have a lot of clients that either have autoimmunity or different reasons why they just can't tolerate nightshades. I do know that if you were to take out the seeds and the skin, you might be able to tolerate it much more. I'm not going to do that today, but you certainly could. Tomato paste is often something you can experiment with if you can't do nightshades, but you could actually take out a bunch of the seeds just like this. And I might take a few out just for the kind of the taste and texture to get more of the hearty parts of the tomato out. So I'm just going to do that first and just put a little bit of the tomatoes in my bowl that's going to get composted. And tomatoes do contain a lot of really beneficial nutrients, including lutein, which often we'll get more of the benefit from when it's cooked. They're also really high in vitamin C. And, because there's so many sensitivities in general to nightshades, I am such a fan of enjoying them in season, right? I mean, the kind of tomatoes that you can get year round at the market, they really don't have a lot of flavor. And in my opinion, they're not that exciting. So I like to eat them more in season. I love sun golds and I'm loving these heirlooms. They're just incredible. So I've got a bunch of them here. They're just so beautiful this year. So, okay, now that I got the majority of the seeds out, I'm just gonna give it some chopping. And I'm making it like poke. Wait till you see this recipe. So I'm cutting it into little squares, just like you would if you were eating poke. And just chopping it up. I'm just gonna see how this tastes. Really good. I have not had a bumper crop this good before. And in our family, my brother-in-law passed away last November, and he had the greenest thumb that I know. And his partner, she sort of took over his tomato propagation this year, and so these are from her. So shout out to you, Marcy. These are the best. All right, so I'm just chopping them up, and so I'm using one big one. I think I'm going to use one more in here. I'm going to go for another one that looks divine, in my opinion. So it's not a big deal. You don't have to spend a ton of time shopping, but there's one big one. I'm going to go in on this orange one. I have these orange ones, and look, this one has like a little tip right there. Isn't that cute? So I'm just going to take off oh yeah, look at the inside of that. It's so pretty. So I'm just going to come through and do a similar thing, and I'm going to get a few of the seeds out where they're really prominent. Again, I'm thinking about the texture, and I'm just thinking about, let me talk a little bit about nightshades, like why some people have a problem with them. They're really high in lectins, and lectins can be irritating to the immune system and create an immune response. But I will say, if you work at creating a good mucosal lining in your gut, you might be able to tolerate them better. Sometimes if we've been under a great deal of stress, our lining might be thinner. We can't tolerate them. Maybe you're like, I was able to eat them my whole life and now I can't. So it might be that you can seasonally in small amounts. Okay, so I've got 2 nice big tomatoes here. I think that's going to be enough for me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make the poke sauce. Another thing I want to brag about when it comes to my tomatoes is that I actually dry farm my tomatoes. Now, I don't live in a hot desert. I live in Northern California, but we get pretty hot here. In fact, we're supposed to have 100-degree days in the next couple days, but I don't water them. I've maybe watered them once or twice this year. Once they get established, once I put them in and transplant them, I water them until they get their roots, but I don't really water them at all during the season. And this helps them to become sweeter. And so I actually, since everybody's been talking drought, I thought, well, I might as well plant more tomatoes this year so that, you know, since I don't water them much. So I do have a lot and just finding fun things to do with them. So I'm going to make a sauce. I'm going to make a poke sauce right now. So here's my ingredients. I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of a soy sauce. And this particular soy sauce, I always buy gluten-free soy sauce, organic tamari. I mean, why not? To me, it tastes pretty much the same. Might as well get the gluten-free kind. And then I'm going to put a teaspoon each of rice wine vinegar. So 1 teaspoon of rice wine vinegar and 1 teaspoon of sriracha. Okay. And 1 teaspoon of pure sesame seed oil. This is toasted and this is really for flavor. I try to avoid seed oils, but this is kind of an exception. And I'm just gonna put my spoon in there, make sure I get all the stuff off of that spoon. All right, so there is my sauce. Now what I'm gonna do is just give it a little extra stir with a fork. Now this sauce, I'll have some left over. So I could use this if I want to make this again. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come on over the tomatoes and pour this over. And I really don't need that much because it'll keep marinating. So I only poured in, you know, I still have most of it. So I'll save this and I can do this again. But it's a poke sauce. Now I have a poke sauce if I happen to get some fish in the next little bit, or if I make some rice or something. So there's my tomatoes. It's super juicy in there. I'm gonna let that sit while I prep a couple more ingredients to go in there. So I have some cilantro. So I'm gonna take my cilantro and just come along and give it a little haircut, as I learned from my friend Lizette. And there are a few little stems in there. I'm not worried about it because the stems are pretty mild, but I'm going to chop that up pretty good. And I know there's some folks that just don't like cilantro, so you can certainly leave the cilantro out. You know who you are. Okay, so I've got my cilantro chopped up pretty good. I don't want to over chop it. And then I have a couple green onions. Okay, so I'm going to just take off a couple of the leaves, the outer leaves, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to chop my green onions, take out the stem. You know, one little hack you could do, you could actually, maybe I will do that, take these little stems and just pop them into the garden and the root end, and they'll probably grow back. I did that with a leek not too long ago, and it was pretty awesome. So I'm just gonna, I like to use the whole green onion, so I'm just making it so I don't have to cut forever, so it's just a shorter little stack. And I'm gonna go as thin as I can, since these are gonna stay raw. Thin as I can with my green onion. And I'm gonna add these to my pokey. My tomato pokey. So I'm just gonna add them in there and stir it up. Yum. This is looking really good. And then I am going to add some sesame seeds. These are already toasted. So this will add a nice extra flavor. Very exciting. Okay, so now I have tomato pokey. And you'll be surprised how flippin' delicious this is. I swear, it's really good. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add this to my kale salad. So what I'm gonna do first is I wanted to put a little avocado in there, but I didn't wanna mix the avocado in there because this will be good for a couple days. It'll keep marinating. So what I'm gonna do is just take out the avocado that I wanna use. So I'm just gonna take out a couple little slices and, you know, like enough for this meal. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put it into a little bowl and slice it up. I know this is, I'm not showing good knife skills. I'll put it down. Okay, so there's my first little bit, and then I've got a little bit more right here. And I'll do this way. And okay, so I've got my avocado. Now, if I put the avocado into with my tomato, it might turn all brown after, you know, an hour or so, and that would be a bummer. So I'm gonna mix this together in a smaller bowl. I'm gonna mix together how much I'm gonna eat right now, which is probably about this much. And then I'm just gonna mix this together so that the avocado gets all happy with the tomatoes and the sauce. And so they're just all saying, hey, they're getting married in there. And then I'm gonna just add this to my kale salad and give it a little toss. And if I really wanted to toss it in a good way, since this is kind of a small bowl, sometimes I like starting out in a bigger bowl and then you can really toss it. I'm just gonna use tongs just to really get all the flavors going. The kale salad had a little salt and lemon when I made that originally, so this is just mixing it together. And now I have this delicious ensalada de poke. Little mix of the cultures, right? Kale salad, and there's actually even I put a little apple from my apple tree. Okay, so let me give this a try and see how it is. I'm gonna make sure to get some of the avocado and tomato and kale. Oops. So delicious. And just because I love the way the sesame goes in there, I'm just gonna add a little bit more. Sesame seeds are really high in calcium, and they are just really add a nice flavor and take your food up to the next level. So this is my poke salad. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you make it. Let me know if you do, and thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much. Have a good one.